Hi, everybody. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and my guest today is Mr. Khameron Riley. Actually, not a guest, he is a part of the team. And welcome, Cam. How are you?
Hey, Sybil, happy to be here. Happy to be part of the team, and greetings to everybody as far away from DC and California. We got both ends of the U.S. representing in the chat today.
All right, all right. Let's get started then. So, what's going on? How are you? What's the word? What's the haps? What's the goings ons?
Uh, you know, um, I am the general manager of a miniature golf course in North Lawndale, the Douglas
Mm-hmm.
18 mini golf course, brand spanking new,
Oh,
a
nice.
product of this Graham community partnership, something that I help project manage, and everyone who's in Chicago should come by and see it. But I ride my bike from Roseland to North Lawndale when I go to and from work. So
Cameron, Cameron, tell
yeah,
people how far that is.
it's like 20 miles. Um,
20 miles to and then 20 miles back, or do you catch the bus and bring your bike on the bus?
I catch the red line back if I'm feeling tired.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Cameron,
get those Serena Williams buns.
okay, I will just leave that there. I love miniature golf. I did not know that. That's really cool. How is it an open course?
Yeah, it's an open outdoor course. It's bird themed. So over 200 species of birds migrate across the U.S. and they make a pit stop in Chicago during the spring and the summer. And oftentimes, if you're in Douglas Park, you can see some very rare species of birds. And so each of the holes was designed by a student from the community, and it's based off the species of birds. So I help manage the golf course.
I'm totally enthralled. I absolutely love it. I don't want to be speechless, but I'm excited by that. I want you to do a story about it one day.
Oh, I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cameron is a very gifted writer and talks about a number of things, but especially about political topics. But I would like for you to give us a walk through this miniature golf course in Lawndale. I absolutely would love to have that in the What You Need to Know newsletter. How long have you been doing this? How long has this been going on?
Yeah. So the course just opened this summer. We end in on Halloween on October
Yeah.
31st. So
Just before the first snowfall.
hopefully, it's been a very warm fall so far. So we're hoping
Mhm.
that the weather keeps up a little bit. So it's been probably about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Next
Okay.
Tuesday, I'll hop on the show from the golf course.
How's your game?
My putt game is looking pretty good. I was going to say my stroke game, but that would
Yeah.
be a double entendre. Uh, some of my my people out there in the chat.
We'll get you some theme music for that next time too. Um, so were you a miniature golf enthusiast? I don't want to get too deep into this, but I'm fascinated by miniature golf because I really like it. I like golf. I'm just not that good at golf anymore. I've really gotten away from the game. But I love the idea of especially introducing children and young people to the game. And I'm just wondering how's business in terms of getting young people and families and that out there.
Yeah, so the idea came from a community artist named Heyman Cross III, who saw how dilapidated the previous miniature golf course had become, and we decided to give students an opportunity to reclaim their community and have them take ownership of it. So students
Cool.
actually redesigned the golf course. They prototyped the holes. They worked with the architecture firm and everything. A brief aside to my friends Monique and Trina in the chat asking me my relationship status after the dating game. A couple shows ago, Sybil had asked me what the status was, and I'll let you all know that Simone and I keep in touch regularly. We had a FaceTime date a couple weeks ago, and
Hmm.
Maya and I talk often. Simone is a very busy woman doing her lawyer things, so
Hmm.
she's the kind of woman who I have to like set a calendar date with, and then we talk.
Gotcha.
Whereas Maya and I talk on the regular. No, Monique, thank you for that.
And we will talk about that. Maybe we'll get a little bit more into that conversation during entertainment. But as we are moving along, and I do want to revisit the golf miniature golf course conversation as well. Cameron, once again, give people the name of the golf course.
Yeah, it's the Douglas 18 miniature golf course. All my Chicago folks, come visit me in North Lawndale. Please don't be afraid to come to North Lawndale, but please come visit me on the west side. As we say in Chicago, we are out west. We out west.
We are the Wild Wild West.
Yes,
Because
still.
those of us from the South Side going to the West Side, it's a little. Well, what am I talking about? Chicago South Side is as dicey as the rest of it. So, Cameron, let's talk about what's going on in the news. Besides your personal information about the golf course, let's talk about the possible government shutdown, as it were. This is something we're going to talk about in tomorrow's newsletter, but definitely it is an area of great concern especially to federal workers, because Cameron, this is not just a partial shutdown. According to news sources, this is a full government shutdown. Normally, some people are still going to their jobs, even though they're not being paid. But a full government shutdown, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yes, absolutely. So last time on our show, we discussed how shutting down the government was used as a political bargaining chip for some parties to get what it is that they want. And we heard Mitch McConnell saying that he will purposely shut down the government just to prove a point. And it seems that Republicans are very much going to do that, which stinks for people collecting Social Security, for people who are trying to get renewed licenses and registration at certain federal buildings. It's and the worst part about it is that our elected officials still get paid.
Yeah, they do. They do. And people like TSA people, there will probably be some reductions there, but they still must go to work, and they won't get paid. People who are in health and human services, and especially in the age of a pandemic, many of them will be going to work, but they will not get paid until a budget is agreed upon for, or to keep the government running. A number of these businesses, and I don't know if you remember, now of course you do, but I'm just to the people, the longest government shutdown was a little less than 3 years ago in 2018. And that went just before Christmas and well into the month of January, 35 days during the Trump administration. And people were hurting. And if you think they were hurting then, think about this now, as we are still in the midst of a pandemic and in another wave of the coronavirus. That for that 35 days, we had stories on the Joyner Show about government workers who had to start their own businesses, government workers in order to make money, government workers who were going to food banks, government workers who were starting crowdfunding sites in order to help them pay their bills. Because the reality is most people work paycheck to paycheck. And so this came at if there is an opportune time, this was the most opportune, because as I said, it was right before Christmas. It was December 22nd, as people were getting ready for the holidays, or some already into the holidays. And the strike started, the government shutdown started during the Trump administration. This was December 22nd of 2018 to January 25th of 2019. And so this is going to be a difficult time. And it is political. The Republicans are trying to do to the Democrats what the Democrats have done to the Republicans in the past. And more importantly, Mitch McConnell, as you say, is trying to make everything that Joe Biden puts his hands on, that the Speaker of the House, Pelosi, puts her hands on, that Majority Leader Schumer, Senate Majority Leader Schumer puts his hands on, everything turns to dust.
Yeah,
every possible thing.
Yeah, the vote on this latest budget was very narrow. It was 48 to 50.
Exactly.
And, Sybil, I mean, TSA staff in airports can already be a little irritable.
Right.
Can you imagine working over the holidays and also not getting paid? Yeah. And people fighting in the airport? Yeah. I'm not looking forward to. I already wasn't going to travel this season, but it's definitely going to be a bit of a jungle out there.
And think about this, Cam, not only the TSA people, but think about the air traffic controllers.
Oh.
they're going to be severely limited, which is going to affect not only as you get through the airport, but as you get into that plane and start your traveling there. It's going to be greatly delayed in the age of this pandemic. Everything is heightened because of the pandemic, but certainly that's just one area. People who get their food stamps and other benefits will not be affected, but things will be slowed down considerably. And as Dr. Fauci said, you have a situation where thousands of people are dying a day. Hundreds of thousands of people are diagnosed with COVID a day. And so, with this on top of a government shutdown, it's going to make for a very difficult time if they don't get their act together. And part of the problem, Cam, is something that is political too. And I think that the Democrats are going to have to cry uncle or say chicken in order to get this passed and take that debt ceiling part out of the bill so that they can go forward with keeping the government running. And that debt ceiling thing is a political thing as well. What do we have from Manuel there on Facebook?
Yeah, Manuel Murphy from Facebook says that Mitch was doing the same thing to President Obama. I've never heard about the debt ceiling until President Obama wanted to raise it. You're right.
It was always it was an acknowledged part of doing business in the government, raising the debt ceiling so that you can, borrow more money to pay your bills. Something that I wish we could all do. But the government has succeeded in doing it. But taking that out of the equation, Cam, is probably going to be the only way that they keep the government running as of 12:01 a.m. on Friday.
Yeah, it's just become this over politicized issue, and I think we need to also address the fact that the Republicans, especially Mitch McConnell, does not understand the nature of the debt ceiling. That the debt ceiling must be raised so that America can continue to do business. We loan out dollars, we pay those dollars back, we loan out some more dollars. It's how we make money as a government. And when you stop that, people aren't going to want to borrow from American money.
No, they can't trust us.
Right, and we're trying to reclaim our brand from being the laughing stock of the international stage from the last 4 years.
Right, and certainly, and when you talk about that, Cameron, think about how we, despite all of his good intentions, we are even more so when you look at Afghanistan, when you look at the treatment of the Haitian migrants. The Biden administration is not faring very well.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, Sybil. Joe stepped into some absolute crap. He really did. And I agree with people in the comments. I agree with Dora that Mitch McConnell is the devil.
He really, and you know what? I will tell you, I don't love things. I love people. And I really try not to say that I hate people. But Mitch McConnell is really very close to being on my hate list, which it doesn't even exist. But he's got a permanent place really close to getting onto that list for me. I agree with you, Dora.
Yeah, I agree with Tracy too, calling him Turkey Neck Mitch. That's a great name.
Gobble gobble, and he's really making turkeys out of the Democratic Party, and taking the attention off of the just the standstill that the federal government has come to. Not in the House so much, but in the Senate, and you got to work with the Senate in order to make things happen. And it's a scary situation. And not only is it affecting our relationships with foreign countries, it's affecting our money in terms of stock markets. Right. When you think about just in the last week, we've had several down days on the stock market, which affects people's 401ks and all the other investments that they're making in these companies in order to substantiate or to put more into their retirement.
People want to see a government that works, that functions. And we know that we live in this adversarial system where people, are entitled to argue their point and pass legislation of what they think is best. But when we argue so much that, we literally stall democracy or stop putting food on people's tables. Really need to address what is wrong with our political process. I feel like the debt ceiling should just be standard procedure.
Trina Jackson is on Facebook.
Yeah, Trina Jackson says, and I agree. I wish the shutdown would affect the senators and reps' pockets by not getting paid when they want to shut down the government.
Yeah, that's always been a really damning part of this. It's like you're playing politics with the lives of hundreds of thousands of federal employees and their families. So then you're talking about millions of people who are affected by this, and yet you continue to get paid. This is it's in the laws. It's in the bylaws that even when the government is not working, we are still going to get paid. That is, and it's not fair. Well, life isn't fair, but that sucks.
Yeah, it truly does. And I mean, with all this, bickering back and forth, I mean, the Republicans have got the Democrats in a full Nelson here. Yeah. And I think they really want them to yield so that when the midterms roll around and eventually the presidential election rolls around in the next 4 years, they can have that chip on their shoulder, those bragging rights, right, to say that they're the quote unquote stronger party. But nobody wins.
How do you call yourself the stronger party, though, Khameron, when you are keeping people from doing their jobs and keeping the government running? I think that if the Democrats play it right, they're going to show take the emperor's clothes off, or remove the curtain rather, and show the Republican Party for what they are. And this is the Trump Republican Party, by the way, right, and show them for who they are. Because here's the other thing that we didn't even talk about. This small bill to keep the government running is only for 2 months.
Yeah.
This is only going to get it to December 3rd.
Right.
We're not talking for the rest of the year into 2022 for 2 months. Just keep it going for 2 months and then go back to and do it incrementally. But this is just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And yet it's fascinating to me, which shows that I have no life. Okay, Khameron, let's also talk about, we just got another minute or two to talk about the military and defense leaders who were on Capitol Hill and talking before a Senate committee. And they were called to talk about this Afghan exit, which I believe Major Milley called a logistical success, but a strategic failure, and how they told the Biden administration, they told the president that what would probably happen, and now the Biden administration said, well, we're not of this understanding. Well, I think you had to be, because if your two highest leaders there are telling you what could possibly happen in terms of getting the Americans out as well as Afghans who have been helping us out of that country, then you had to have known that this was going to not be the success that you intended it to be.
Absolutely. We are the most technologically advanced country on this planet, and they had to have a very strong estimate of the Taliban's forces at that time. I do like seeing our high-ranked military officials stand beside the commander-in-chief in solidarity. That's always a good thing. But there's a point to me where it's just like, okay, you all are just backing up Joe just to back him up. I would appreciate a bit more honesty and transparency.
Well, that, along with the term military intelligence, is an oxymoron, my friend. Transparency in military intelligence and the government. I don't think that we are going to, in my lifetime, Khameron, I don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah, I agree with Michael that there are no easy answers to leaving Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a hornet's nest, and unfortunately, Joe Biden had to be the one to kick it.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. Absolutely. All right. It's now time to go do a deeper dive and ask what's really going on. This revolves around the R. Kelly case. R. Kelly has been found guilty on 9 counts by a Brooklyn jury in a federal court in New York, and most of it had to do with his sex trafficking, the 8 counts on sex trafficking. A lot of people felt redeemed as a result of these young women and young men who testified regarding R. Kelly's ways and what he has done. And so this has brought a couple of different questions and a couple of different stories to my attention that I want to get your take on, Khameron. The first of which, R. Kelly in the sentencing is not going to happen until next year. It's not going to happen until May 4th. So we're talking, 7 months from now. And he will be sitting in his cell, perhaps, or maybe they will move him because he has two other trials, one in Illinois and one in Minnesota, regarding this. But here's the story that got me today. Bill Cosby,
oh boy,
says that he thinks that R. Kelly got railroaded. He got a raw deal with the guilty verdict in his federal sex crimes case. And he's blaming the bane of his existence, Gloria Allred, and systemic racism. America's dad is saying that through his spokesperson, Andrew Wyatt, God bless you, Andrew Wyatt, asked what his client's reaction was to the Kelly conviction on all 9 counts. He told us that Cosby said the guy was railroaded, and naturally, Gloria Allred is drawing most of the ire of Mr. Cosby and Mr. Wyatt. She's represented the alleged victims in both Cosby case and in R. Kelly's case, and she's running a familiar playbook, according to Andrew Wyatt. As we said, he's looking at 10 years to life when he gets sentenced in May. And he says he doesn't think the disgraced singer will actually be sentenced because an appeals court will overturn the conviction. And because he got railroaded, and he's calling on the ever popular racism, systemic racism.
Can't play the race card when you're a pedophile. I'm sorry. It doesn't work like that. And also, it's sad to see that, Dr. Huxtable is not Bill Cosby. Likewise, Robert Kelly is not R. Kelly.
Right.
And that these two people have proven to be very sick, psychologically ill people. And I remember, Sybil, that in 8th grade, our graduation song was going to be World's Greatest. But my principal said no, because this was on the eve of when Robert Kelly decided to relieve himself upon the face of a young woman. And
interesting.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that they were in a court that believed abuse victims, that believed the conditioning of this man. And I can't wait until his whole team goes down, because there's no way that he could have acted alone.
Right. I think that so much has gone before this trial that took place over several weeks in the New York federal court, not the least of which was the incredible documentary Surviving R. Kelly. That really changed the face of all of this and the focus. And that was even after the incredible journalist in Chicago, Jim DeRogatis, who had been following this for years and years and years, trying to bring attention to R. Kelly's abhorrent behavior. And so, but this documentary really changed a lot of folks' opinions, including who was willing to work with R. Kelly anymore, and also. As you mentioned with your grammar school principal, a lot of people are talking about the fact that now that he has been convicted, now that he is facing sentencing, what do you think about him being having his music, or not him being, but his music being banned?
Yeah, so when the Cosby Show got pulled from streaming platforms, I thought that was not fair, because it cut into Felicia Rashad's money, Raven's money, and others.
The whole family.
I didn't think that was fair. To have, I think to pull R. Kelly's music off of streaming platforms just increases the value of the people who already hold his CDs and his vinyls. So I'm not sure if that's the best idea. He should lose the royalties, But
Right.
then again, and
How do you do that though?
right, yeah. How do you even do that is the question. I watched Surviving R. Kelly, obviously, and it was powerful and phenomenal. I just wish that they didn't mention my high school.
Sorry. If he had come out a little further south to Morgan Park Academy, I might feel the same way.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's called
uh,
Kenwood. His hunting grounds.
yeah, those
Okay,
weren't his hunting grounds. And let us not forget the Rock and Roll McDonald's in downtown Chicago.
and the Water Tower. I used to see R. Kelly in the Water Tower all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He used to
Yeah.
just he used to just be there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what is he doing? He's not shopping.
Right.
Well, he was shopping.
Yeah, but not like the rest of us.
God, man. Yeah.
So this was on Variety, the entertainment magazine, and they said they asked the question, should R. Kelly's music be banned? And then they talk about a number of other uh, entertainers who have been involved in murder, robbery, but Phil Spector, who was a big music icon for a lot of people, but also is a convicted murderer who
Mm.
produced and co-wrote some of the greatest hits of the early 60s. And this is all before your time, Kim, but Do Run Run, Spanish Harlem, You Lost That Lovin' Feeling. Also, a man who was the co-writer with Eric Clapton for the 1970 classic hit Layla. He was convicted of murdering his mother during a psychotic episode in 1983. He's in prison in a medical facility. All their music remained and remains available and playlisted on major streaming services. Other people, like my own boss, Tom Joyner, he stopped playing R. Kelly music on our show. But this is really going to be interesting. What does Tamara say there on Facebook, young Kim?
Yeah, Tamara. I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamara. You got to tell me in the chat. But she says, so it'll be taking it out of his children's mouth. He is a pedophile, but they didn't do Jimmy Lee Lewis like that.
Yeah.
So a good point.
Jerry Lee, I think it was Jerry Lee Lewis, who was who had a penchant for young girls too. And that's a very good point, because it's not so much about him and taking care of himself, because the government's going to do that, but it is about his children and making sure that they're okay and their lives. Banning music. What does Paja say? Paha on YouTube?
Yeah, Paja says banning music is like banning books. Let the market decide, not courts. And
Okay.
I was kind of leaning that way too, because if we pull one person, then people start trying to equate which sin is worse. And there are so many rappers out here who are like whole murderers, like you said earlier. So let's just all agree as Black people to not play his music at any more cookouts. Let's just.
But you know what? If you want to, I can't tell you not to, enjoy his music, because a lot of people say you can separate the man and his music from his actions. Some people can. I don't know. Okay. So
Walker says D.L. Hughley said, if we can sing the national anthem with its history, oh boy, then we can sing R. Kelly's music paraphrased.
Okay. And the whole In the Closet series, and I guess too. And I Believe I Can Fly. I thought that might have been your 8th grade graduation song.
No, we were.
That was way before your time.
Yeah. I Believe I Can Fly was big when Space Jam came out. We were supposed to do World's Greatest. The principal, Deborah Clark, God bless her heart, she was like, and so we settled for A Whole New World from Aladdin.
From Aladdin, yeah.
Didn't quite hit the same.
Yeah. It didn't land, and it's all R. Kelly's fault.
Yeah.
Okay. Here is a congressman from Chicago, Danny Davis, says he believes in second chances, and after R. Kelly does his time, which, Mr. Congressman, may never happen for him to complete his time because he could face up to life. He says that he will be given another chance, a second chance, in his hometown of Chicago. Congressman Danny Davis is from the 7th Congressional District. He was on Capitol Hill this week on the heels of this disgraced singer being found guilty and offered an interesting perspective on the potential for Kelly to redeem himself. He says because he is a gifted, talented artist, he believes he'll be welcomed back after serving his prison sentence and offered a chance for redemption. And so let me ask you, Cam, and let me ask the people who are listening as well. Is there space in your heart, in your life, to give R. Kelly a second chance?
In a perfect world, I would love to see R. Kelly get some psychiatric help because it's evident that he absolutely needs it. And like you, Sybil, I try my best to love all people, but some of those things that I hear from the testimonies of those young women, I like my stomach just turns.
Right. And the help that he should have come years ago. But obviously that wasn't a time or a place for him in whatever he was going through in his childhood, because it's obvious that he, and I believe it was brought out, that he too was a victim of a sexual predator or predators. And so this is a generational thing, but help he deserves to get. But a second chance, I'm not sure, Cameron, I'm with you. And I can't, in this case, I cannot separate his getting a second chance with what he did, because these young women, even though they may be given a second chance, their lives have pretty much been ruined unless they get the help that they deserve to and they need.
Dora brought up a point that I'm a little familiar with, that Elvis Presley, not my rabbit Elvis, married his wife Priscilla when she was 14. Nothing happened to him. Yeah, very true.
And she got her parents' permission from Elvis. I think Jerry Lee Lewis. And not only was she underage, but I think Jerry Lee Lewis's wife was his cousin.
Oh my God.
Which gives you a whole family affair thing going that you just don't even want to think about. But yeah, and that wasn't unusual for people in the South, in the North, wherever. And even to this day, we're still hearing stories about older men and grooming these young girls to be their sexual partners. And who was it? What's that girl's name? Her father is a part of the Mamas and the Papas. Mackenzie. I can't remember the last name. But anyway, she used to star on this TV show called One Day at a Time. And her father was a Mackenzie Phillips, John Phillips. And so you see, it just kind of work back in my head and I get it all. But her father, she came out several years ago and said that her father sexually abused her on the regular for years. Her whole family, members of her family, just rejected her because she put this out in the public. There's just so many layers to this. Giving somebody a second chance is just giving him an opportunity to redeem himself with help, with therapy. I get. Giving him a second chance at coming out of prison and being able to have the freedom to do this again, I can't trust that.
Yeah. Ivy Lee from Facebook says, how do we know everything that was said in court was true? I don't believe all of those people. I think people were encountering the same issues with the surviving R. Kelly, that some of the stories just seem so just like fantastical with how sickening they were in nature, that some people found it impossible to believe. But I trust the process. And I always believe abusers. Anyone that lies about that is worse than the abuser.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that we have come through the entire lifetime of this country believing the abuser and not the abused.
Mm,
And I will give the benefit of the doubt to these young women. I know that people have questions about them and the stories that they told. I think it's very difficult to go in public and tell your story. It is probably the most difficult thing that they may have faced in their lives since the alleged abuse. But I also think that there are some questions that have not been answered to the satisfaction of people regarding the parents of these young women, and how and what roles some of them played,
mm.
whether they are the ones that brought their children to R. Kelly, and he, gave them money in response, in return. But there's so many layers to this. But not believing them, I'm going to give them, the abused people, the both the boys and the girls. Then I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sybil. That this whole story really just begins at his conviction. We're still beginning to crack the
Hmm.
surface. That there was, people who were kind of like who were doing who were doing the coercing, who were aiding and abetting this trafficking.
Hmm.
And it's got so many layers. But I mean, and another part that just occurred to me is that the criminal injustice system is not going to do R. Kelly's mental state any favors.
Right. Right.
Uh, he will. I mean, prison will ruin him. Absolutely.
And so, as he has ruined, or alleged to have ruined, so many lives, and I'm going to say ruined because the alleged part now has been proven in this court. But it's just frightening. It's very sad. Cameron, let's move to what you need to know, and let's talk about something a little bit brighter and lighter. Yet there's still some questions, and there are people on both sides of this issue, if you can believe it or not. Let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter and the story that you wrote for today's issue. And let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter first, telling people that you can absolutely get a free subscription to the newsletter. Just go to SybilWilkes.com. Sybil like the crazy girl, Wilkes like John Wilkes Booth.com. Give us your name and your email address. That's the best way I can introduce myself, Cameron. And give your name and your email address, and it'll be in your email box first thing every Monday through Friday morning. Okay, first thing, as I like to say. All right, Cameron, today was a big day in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Governor JB, um, both Obama's Barack and Michelle were present at at a very small groundbreaking ceremony for the Obama Presidential Center, which will be in Jackson Park, the historic Jackson Park, which hosted the 1893 World's Fair. So it comes full circle that Chicago picks this international site of history to celebrate one of our United States' greatest achievements, which would be honoring our first Black president in this beautiful space, which will host job training seminars, youth programming, and it'll be a great boon to the people who live there, to the entire Woodlawn neighborhood, for what type of things will be coming in and out of there. Of course, the opening of the center has not come without.
And let me just say, not just the Center for the education and employment purposes of young people and those in Chicago and the neighborhood and around the world, perhaps, but this is also the presidential library.
Right.
This is where all of his important papers, everything that was a part of his administration, his 8 years in the White House, is going to be housed here at the Obama Presidential Center. I'm sorry. So go ahead about now we have the difficulties that have surrounded this since the announcement was made.
Yeah, I think the best place that people can learn more about kind of the issues surrounding this is obamacba.org, which lists the Obama Community Benefits Agreement. Prior to the construction of the center, prior to the groundbreaking, a lot of community organizers rallied to ensure that the poor Black folks in the Woodlawn, Hyde Park, and South Shore neighborhoods were not displaced or evicted from their homes due to increasing property values. There are a large sum of Black residents in all of these neighborhoods, most of which don't own their homes. And so they are victim to these rapidly escalating rent prices as these neighborhoods become more attractive for other people to come in and move with a lot more capital in which to spend. And so after a great unifying from all of these community stakeholders, the Obama Foundation, which is totally separate from Barack and Michelle Obama, it's their nonprofit. They decided to create this community benefits agreement, which requires a certain percentage of jobs and contracts during the building of the center and people employed in the center thereafter to be diverse or minority led. It protects housing for working families in low-income neighborhoods and homeowners. It also pledges the Obama Foundation to support the development of local Black-owned businesses, and the degree of the property taxes that'll be coming from this building will hopefully feed the neighborhood schools in the region. I think Alderman Jeanette Taylor, who serves in a very large ward in that area, said it best because she wants to look after her ward. She said that I don't care if the first Black president or Queen Elizabeth or Beyonce, we got to hold our people accountable. And President Obama has been really transparent in this. And he said that he's proud of the community organizers who have come together to protect their neighborhood, and that as a former community organizer, he gets it. And he has worked diligently to ensure that the development of this center is very equitable and sustainable for years to come. I wouldn't expect anything less.
So let me ask you from a Southsider's perspective, from a young Black man from the South Side of Chicago, and one who is very proactive in your politics as well as your community activism. Do you believe him?
So as a Chicagoan, Sybil, the construction of this center is going to piss me off. It's going to cause traffic on Stony Island. It's going to cause traffic on Lakeshore Drive. I am not looking forward to more construction and more traffic. However, President Obama, Michelle Obama have proven nothing to be very philanthropic and benevolent. However, they run a massive multi-million-dollar nonprofit, and in conjunction with a very dubious entity called University of Chicago, who wants that Woodlawn neighborhood. They want Woodlawn so bad.
Yeah.
I really need to make sure I trust that, President Obama is not just going to break ground with the shovel and turn his back on it and then come back for the opening. I really hope, and I do believe that the Obamas are really going to see this through equitably until the very end, because Black folks on the South Side of Chicago, where Obama made his name, we are watching. Yes, the traffic is going to be ridiculous, but
and to your point that you made earlier about the displacement of Black folks who are renters, who do not own their homes, and they are held at the whim of those who want to rehab the community at the expense of folks who have found a place where they can live and function and in a very comfortable setting. Let's just say, it is disconcerting that the possibility it kind of hangs in the air that these people will be displaced, that at some point it might not be in full frontal in terms of having all the eyes on them, but certainly there's still a lot of suspicion that people will not be able to stay in the community and that they will not be taken care of in a fair fashion.
Yeah, and this is where we really need to ask ourselves, like, what does community development look like? Is there any way to have a modernization of a community without quote unquote gentrification? And the way that starts is by creating ways for Black people to own their homes.
Yeah.
If there were strong home ownership in Woodlawn, in Hyde Park, in South Shore, then the people there would have so much more say and so much more power in what comes in and out of those neighborhoods.
So, how about Khameron? You, as our young activist, how about you go to those fellow Chicagoans like Valerie Jarrett, like Michelle Robinson Obama, and you suggest, if they haven't come up with the idea already, that a part of their community program be just that. Have programs to help the people in that community advance, not only in terms of their careers, but in terms of their housing and developing that generational wealth and success by figuring out how to buy and maintain their homes, not only for this generation, but for generations to come.
I would love that. Also, I mean, but if I like breathe the same air as Michelle Obama, I would simp very hard. I would lose all my intellectual prowess and I would simp.
Well, having been in her presence, I can tell you I understand that. And the fact that both of them tower over me, and I'm really average height at 5'5", but how they tower over me not only physically but in their life experiences as well as what they represent. But I would love to have that conversation, Khameron, because, and here I go again, it's only fair.
Yes.
Because think about this, and without going, too deep into this, but for those of us who read Becoming, who know the life that Michelle Obama had growing up, living in the floor above her aunt and uncle, and in 2 bedrooms, this family of 4 lived. It's only fair that they are reminded, if she doesn't already remember, and that's a big supposition on my part, but if she does not remember from when she comes, and I believe she does, but just to keep it in their heads, that suppose the Barack Obama of another generation decided he wanted to have his presidential library right where the Robinsons lived.
Mm-hmm.
And what that would have looked like. I know it's, it's fanciful thinking, but think about that and put yourself in the position of those people who are still in the place where they could be displaced.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ranita from Facebook asked, when is it expected to open? Construction is expected to take 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see it happen in 2025. But when we're on Chicago time,
yeah, and Chicago politics and the way the labor unions and all that work, Renita, we could have another Black president by the time this is finally.
I'd say wait until 2026 at the very latest.
And Khameron, I think you're being generous, but I hope that it is sooner rather than later. I was thinking 2030 was in my head, but okay, Khameron. One other thing I want to talk about, and that's today. And I know that when people hear this on our Sirius XM show, it won't be today. But today is National Voter Registration Day, and it's very important that we talk about this. Actually, it's a week, but this day is the day that we're recording this, and it's very important that people remember about the importance of voter registration. Obviously, without a voter registration program, Barack Obama may not be where he is today. Without a voter registration program, certainly Joe Biden would not be where he is today, and Kamala Harris as well. So let's just talk about the importance of voting. Let's talk about, I'm already registered. Okay, how about you go online and make sure that your registration is still in effect, because there's a lot of purging that goes on, especially in Republican-led states, and Stacey Abrams can speak to this as well as anybody, knowing how the thousands and thousands and thousands of people whose names were purged from the voting rolls in the state of Georgia, which prevented her from becoming the very first black female governor of the state of Georgia. So go to vote.gov, check in to make sure that your registration is in full effect. And when it is, go and help somebody else register to vote.
Yeah, now would be a good time to, if you moved recently, to change your address, to do all that stuff, so that when we get to the polls, there's going to be no problems.
Yep, absolutely. Or as my friends used to say, if you move from your mama's house to your mama's garage, sometimes you need to make that adjustment and put that half on the address. But as you say, if you've moved, if your kids have gone back to school, your college students, or maybe they moved back home and you need to change that address. There's so many different variables in terms of movement. If you've recently married, you changed all your other stuff, your license and driver's license and all these other forms of identification. Make sure that your voting registration is still in effect, please. It's very important. Absolutely. All right. So now, Khameron, let's talk about entertainment.
Sure.
And the reason why I'm excited to talk about this, because I don't know I know that you are a man of the arts. You are a screenwriter. You are a playwright. And one of my great joys is going to a good play. And so I was the only one, I'm pretty sure that I was one of very few people who watched all 4 hours of the Tony Awards Sunday night. What, you didn't, you're laughing like, you
No,
didn't
I,
did you
I
watch
also
any of it?
I also skipped the Tonys too.
Okay. So Khameron, let me just tell you what a geek I am. I watched the first 2 hours on Paramount Plus, which is the app, okay? And that was the first 2 hours, and that was where they gave all the awards. And the second 2 hours on CBS were really the performances, because Broadway has been dead. It's come back to life as a result of opening up the cities and what have you, and especially the city of New York and Broadway, but it has been dead. And so they needed this big burst and to entertain the people with all the performances, the song and dances and everything. But gosh, it was so good.
Yeah.
It made me excited. Like, I'm not excited to go back to the movies, but it made me, and going to the theater, trust and believe, is going to be in much closer contact than in a movie theater. But I'm really excited, and I hope that people will go. The young lady that played Tina Turner won. Her name is Adrienne Warren, and she won for Best Leading Actress in this musical, Tina. And I got to see it. Yolanda and I went we did a weekend. That was another lifetime, but we flew to London and we saw Tina, and she did a masterful job, and she's now brought this to Broadway. So please, if you can go, absolutely do so. And to Kenny Leon, who is an incredible director, as many people know, one of the best talents, black, white, brown, you name it. He won for best production of A Soldier Story, and it was masterful. His acceptance speech too was absolutely beautiful. Between those two, it really made my night. And so I geeked out a little bit, and I don't know about you, but I just love it.
I mean, those of you all who are coming at Sybil in the comments, you need to get some theater in your lives, because there is nothing quite like watching an actor or an actress or a whole ensemble just take you with them emotionally, without the barriers of a camera or a screen. It feels like you're a part of a community experience. Nothing quite builds community like theater does.
And I'm not saying that everybody has to go to Broadway, although there is a kind of electricity in every theater.
Oh yeah,
there is an electricity which and watching young people, older people who are gifted with the with the gift of acting, it's really a pleasure to behold and to be a part of that, and to see just the incredible words that come off the page onto the stage. And it is I'm just a geek. And so
I mean,
you can keep coming, you can keep bringing it on, but I'm never going to stop talking about my love of theater, and for people who do this business, because I have such respect for them. As a matter of fact, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Paula Newsome. She's a wonderful actress, and she is in California. She and I went to high school together, but now she is in a new TV show, and I want to say it's NCIS Las Vegas. They have a new Vegas show, TV show coming on CBS, and Paula is. I saw her just the other day in one of the ads for it, and she is a really talented actress. I want to give her a shout out too. So Khameron, what are you working on?
Yeah, currently I'm working on my autobiography, which is called "The Prince Among Queens." It's just about my life being raised in a matriarchal household. I'm also working on a very small play called "Surrender." It's about how addiction is a family disease.
Yeah.
You know, Sybil,
okay. What's your process in terms of writing?
You know, I sit on things for a very long time, until it finally germinates, and then I will write for 16 hours straight.
Wow. Okay. So you're one of those writers. All right.
Yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit more about that when we can, and as we get closer. And I'd love to do a book club with you when your book comes out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Let's wrap this. Let's wrap this up, Khameron.
Ancestors.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up, and I am going to first of all give you Yogi's Jewel for the day. And what is that? Say no to toxic relationships that do not contribute to your peace. Say no to toxic relationships that do not contribute to your peace. All right. So, young Khameron, we will close with a sample from And She Worthy. You may be familiar with this. We heard your voice last week. This is the poetry album by our very own Quinn Townsend Riley and your very own sister. It's available now on Apple Music, Spotify, and Tidal. And we're very proud of her as well. So we close this out. Thanks, Khameron. I had a great time. I always love our conversations. And this was another one to add to the group.
I'll see you later, Sybil.
Take it easy. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
I am denouncing my Black girl magic. Because it is blessing and burden, holy and sacrificial. At any moment, I could disappear and no one would come looking for me. I could die in a cell, but the trick is I did not kill myself. I can make you think that I'm fine and healthy when my body has been kidnapped for sex cults. People think that my blood shines, that my bruises sparkle. My body has been poked, prodded, procured to find reason for my very extraterrestrial existence. My body has been raped, robbed, run through, run over like railroad track. Henrietta lacked mouth, more hole than heaven, breasts, more toy than nutrients, thighs, more alleyway than guarded gate. I hate being told that I have Black girl magic. Because I could stand here, decomposing in front of all of you, but you wouldn't believe me because Black girls don't cry, we don't die, we are magic. A lie that I have swallowed. A lie that I'm tired of carrying on my back. Tired of being raped and no one acknowledging my pain. Tired of dying and no one saying my name. You too, while listening to this poem, still don't see me. You just see a Black girl miraculously enchanting, so when I cry, it's a spectacle. When I die, it's sacrificial. How many more of our bodies must be buried for you recognize that we are real? When Corinne Gaines was shot in front of her son, it wasn't glitter that oozed out of her body, it was blood. Sandra Bland did not disappear, she was murdered. Jessica Savage is not okay, and to this day, there are still 219 Nigerian girls missing. Black women are not superheroes in capes, invincible to pain. We have simply adapted to our chains of menstrual, and men and their cycles. Behind every strong Black man is a Black woman that he used for practice. Black women are like stars, dying, combustible, balls of flame. Please say our name. What use is having this magic if everyone is using it but me, Shalina Lyles, Rakia Boyd, Natasha McKenna, Maya Hall, Sandra Bland, Corinne Gaines, Micaiah Bryant, Breonna Taylor. I promise you, I can die just like you. I can cry just like you. Bend my back, loan my dignity to you. Black girl been mother before she was child. Black girl been muse. Black girl been tool. What was wings on my back are now just swollen welts. Spells are simply prayers. My blood doesn't sparkle, but no one cares as long as there's a show.